Honorable Senators, I rise today to speak on Senator Plett's inquiry. Senator Plett and every one of you are all our allies in this ongoing fight against systemic racism in all of its cyclical forms. Senator Plett, thank you for this inquiry. I appreciate you introducing it, and also thank you for your leadership. In the wake of the countless deaths of Black men, women, and children in America, around the world, protesters have provoked unprecedented levels of global unification. At last, men, women, and children of all races are standing together. They are unified by their collective vision for a better future for all of our children and grandchildren. A future in which no daughter has to ask her mother, "Why did they say I am not Canadian?" after she returns home, distraught and crying, because yet another person questioned and promptly ridiculed her Canadian identity. Throughout my lifelong work on this issue, I have seen that one of the greatest barriers to real and tangible action is actually understanding the problem of systemic racism. I strongly believe that one of the ways this change can be realized is through education, through teaching and relearning as well as unlearning our ingrained racist behaviors and beliefs. You may have seen during the COVID period my blogs and podcast or series on systemic racism. I, along with my amazing staff of Gavin Jaffrey, Seema Ramprasad, Rana Alam, and Madison Pate Green, have been creating a booklet and an animation project called The Invisible Visible Minority, a parliamentary study of the cyclical nature of systemic racism across institutions. Senators, you will have today received an animation prepared by my office. May I please ask that you look at that animation at your leisure. You will shortly be receiving a booklet from my office in which I outline the cyclical nature of systemic racism and the experiences endured by racialized, namely Black, Indigenous, First Nation, Inuit, Métis, and people across the country. I have split my analysis in this issue and its impacts into 6 sections. Firstly, I define systemic racism. Then I highlight the areas in which systemic racism is most profoundly manifest. That is employment, housing, education, institutionalization, and political representation. Colleagues, when engaging with this material, it is important to recognize that this cyclical experience of racism does not necessarily begin in one racist institution. Rather, all these highlighted areas have a role in the systemic discrimination of all racialized Canadians. For instance, inadequate and low-quality employment fundamentally limits racialized people and their families' adequate housing options. Simultaneously, where someone's lives determines their access to the life-saving social services, such as education, health, and mental health care. Further, due to the inadequacies of care, children and young people are relegated to attend underfunded and underserved schools, thus rendering their options for higher education abysmal. Due to the pattern of lack of opportunities to succeed, it becomes near to impossible for people to break the visions of cycle of poverty into which they are born. Consequently, far too often, individuals are left with little options to provide their children with better opportunities than they or even their parents had. Finally, as our colleague Senator Pate has worked tirelessly to highlight, the disproportionate numbers of Black, Indigenous, and Muslim people are in our jails and prisons. This commonly begins with the routine encounters with state authorities, which often result in a person being institutionalized or having their rights and freedoms removed simply by virtue of their unchangeable identity. My hope is that through reading and learning about the real experiences of racialized people in Canada, all Canadians will have a more holistic and meaningful understanding of the ways racism manifests in many forms and in virtually all aspects of our collective society. My fellow colleagues, the Senate Parliamentary Black Caucus, Senators Ravalia, Moody, Magie, and Bernard, have never failed to remind me of the value of working together for our collective visions. They have been staunch allies as we recognize that our goals and ideas are bound in the ultimate vision of a Canada in which racism has been eradicated, a Canada in which the members of the Senators' Black Caucus never need to worry about the safety of our grandchildren, a Canada in which all of us truly believe that regardless of identity, all children and grandchildren and those whom we love can enjoy true freedom and can achieve any goal they set in their mind. Further, with reference to Senator Cormier, Senator McFadden, and many of our other colleagues' profound and moving speeches in which they implored the need for race-based data and analysis to be applied to all police interventions and society as a whole, I completely agree. Race-based analysis would help to ensure the employment of a government-wide approach to having critical analysis of parliamentary processes in our country. I recognize that the plus of the existing gender-based analysis is intended to represent additional interests such as race, ethnicity, religion, age, mental and physical disability. While this recognition is commendable, I believe that an explicitly race-centric policy oversight is necessary to ensure that targeting racial injustice at the legislative level does not become just another secondary consideration. Honorable Senators, I stand before you because many people removed barriers for me. As a refugee, I came to Canada, and the Law Society of British Columbia would not even give me a form to process my application. There were many, many months that I knocked on their door, but they refused to give me their application. In fact, they started becoming very rude. I started working as a Girl Friday in the Honorable Thomas Dome's office, a well-known lawyer in British Columbia. He walked down to the Law Society and got me the form. That enabled me to become a lawyer in British Columbia. He moved a barrier for me. In courts, the judges would often challenge me that I was not a lawyer. As a first South Asian lawyer in Canada, I had many challenges. I would be called an interpreter. Many times the judges would tell me, you know, that the accused does not speak in Canadian courts. Let a lawyer speak. And the accused would be a notorious criminal, and they would think he is the lawyer. Mr. Dome had to many times come into the courtroom and just sit with me. He removed a barrier for me. I joined the Liberal Party and was a member of the Liberal Party for a long time. When I ran for vice president, I had many challenges. Senator Ross Fitzpatrick and his wife, Linda, helped me, and they removed a barrier for me. My son and I were the first racialized people on the national executive of the Liberal Party. There were many challenges. Our colleague, Senator Mercer, took my son and I under his wing. To this day, we say that we have had my son together. If it wasn't for Senator Mercer, I do not, he knows. To this day, I can tell you that if my son and I would not have remained members of the Liberal Party, if Senator Mercer had not removed barriers for us. When I arrived in the Senate, if you can imagine, it was a week after 9/11. As a first Muslim senator, it was Senators Carstairs and our Speaker Fury who removed barriers for me. Every day, you all support me and help me remove barriers. I feel very much loved in this place. I know that if there is any barrier, you will help me remove it. To end racism, systemic racism, we have to examine all legislation with a lens that how we do not create legislation that will create barriers, with a lens on how can we remove barriers. Today, I ask you to help us implement race-based analysis to lift barriers for all racialized Canadians. Our role as senators is to create harmony in society. What does harmony mean? You know, when I was young, my mother wanted me to be a pianist, and my father wanted me to be a politician, and you can see who won. My mother would ask me to practice on the piano, and to annoy her, sometimes I would just practice on the black keys. And I can ask you, practice on just black keys. It does not create harmony. Sometimes, to annoy her, I would just practice on the white keys. That also does not create harmony. Later on in life, what my mother taught me has stayed with me. To have real harmony in our country, you have to have both black and white people participate. Honorable Senators, I stand in front of you because many people removed barriers for me. Over the years, I have had a lot of help. Sadly, many racialized people are not as lucky as I am. And so I stand in front of you and say that we as legislators should look at ways in which a legislation is supportive of all people in Canada and does not raise further barriers. Thank you very much.
Senator Martin.